Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you find yourself. Welcome to another episode of IoT Tuesday with yours truly, Samola Trani, live from my studios. We do this every Tuesday, hopefully, if work and life doesn't get in the way, but we try to do this to demystify or share IoT knowledge, with you all, wherever you find yourself. In today's episode, we will be taking a look at, we'll be technically revisiting something I've done, before, revisiting the Microsoft Azure IoT services. Look at the various services there, what you can use them for, what they entail, and then also with this time we'll look at some unboxing of a new dev kit I have to look at how it is, and also talk a little bit about communication or connectivity when it comes to IoT devices. If this sounds like something you want to do with me, stick and stay. When we come back from the montage, we will jump right into it. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Yes, we are back and we demystify everything IoT. I still remain your Soli Samaladrani. If this is the first time you're joining us, please, 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 I entreat you to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification button so that anytime I go live or post the content, you'll be among the first people to get it. Well, I am going to start to do something. I don't want you guys to read any meaning or anything into it, but I'm going to be doing something on all my streams, which is something I feel that for a long time, uh, people or most of us, some way, somehow, seem to have, how do you call it, either forgotten or just left. And that is, our sense of patriotism and sense of nationality. We're entering the Heritage Month, it's Black History, Ghana's independence celebration, all that is going to happen. So I've decided to do something where I'm going to precede my stream with the national anthem of Ghana. And, just to remind us to reflect, on the words of it and, uphold it so that we have a sense of, citizenship or, being citizens and patriotic citizens at that. So with that, I'm going to be segueing quickly into playing the national anthem of Ghana and, celebration of our upcoming independence and also to remind us of how far we come. So indulge me for a moment whilst I honor my motherland, which is Ghana, with the national anthem, and then we will jump right into it. Kindly indulge me on this. Thank you for indulging me, and that's just paying homage to my motherland and, in celebration of our upcoming independence. So, once again, welcome to IoT Tuesday with yours truly, Sabana Training. So, today we're going to be talking about Azure IoT services, what they are, what you can use them for, and then we'll talk about some connectivity options for IoT projects, and then we'll take a look at unboxing a dev kit. But before we get into it, just some quick things I want to share. First off is, have you been scammed? Have you sent money to the wrong person? Have you done transaction with the wrong person? Well, this is many stories we've heard about people sending money to wrong people being scammed, people sending money. So here, look, we came up with a very beautiful and simple tool called FraudWall. You can find it at fraudwall.ai. all you need to do is that before you perform any mobile money transaction, come to this platform, put the number there, find out if the number has been reported as scam, or report the number if it's scammed you, provide the evidence to it. This is a crowdsourced platform that eventually we want to integrate into the telcos or mobile money and all that, so that at least we can stop fraudsters and scammers one report at a time. There's a website which is fraudwall.ai, or you can use *920 *419 hash. And also there is a Telegram board. Just go look for fraudwall.ai. Some people are like, why are you some people are like, Sam, why are you doing this? Like, what's up? And I'm like, look, it's a headache, all right? It's a huge headache, and we need to do something about it. So we have, taken it upon ourselves to do stuff about it. Well, with that out of the way, let me bring something in view. I know most times people ask me, or people try to find out, Sam, are you always a tech geek? Are you always talking technology, just, doing only tech stuff? Well, sorry to sorry to disappoint you, but let me bring this in view. No, I'm also a very avid lover of theater. So I also, take part in a lot of theater stuff. We do some kind of animatronics and some kind of stage effects as well with my IoT stuff. So, but I'm inviting you to watch a show by Fifi Coleman Production, my own buddy. It's called Women at Work. Yes, I don't just geek around. I don't just do tech stuff. It's happening on the 8th and 9th of March at the National Theatre, 7 p.m. each night. It's 150 cities. You can use the USSD or call the numbers for inquiry. Women at Work, come see all the action. We listen and we judge. It's interesting. I'll be there. Though there's only women, but look, we're sneaking and getting there. So don't miss this opportunity. You can join, relax after a hard day's work, after all the geeking and tech stuff. Let's go watch some theater stuff and, enjoy ourselves. Well, one more thing I want to share is that if you are a techie, if you are someone who likes to, or you have stuff that you need to, import into the country, and you're like, hey, how do I get my laptops? How do I get my tech stuff? How do I get, all my other things into the country? And you're wondering how you're going to do that. Well, look no further. Hobart Shipping is your connect. They've been doing all my shipping. So I buy my stuff from Amazon. They deliver it to me right here in Accra, and yeah, so go check out Hobart Shipping. They are your one-stop plug for all your logistics need. Well, so let's get into it. Let's get into today's session. And remember, all my sessions are very interactive, so I encourage asking questions and putting them in the chat, and I'll try as much as possible to answer them for you. So first off, let's get into Azure IoT, right? What is Azure IoT, what we can use it for, and stuff like that. Well, like I mentioned, I have done a few how do you call it, sessions on Azure IoT, right? Where I've talked about the use of a lot of the platforms, the services, and it's important that as you do Azure or you do IoT, it always comes to a point where you want to connect your devices or control them either through, the cloud or other edge cases. But we'll be talking about different connectivity options as well. But I want to talk about Azure IoT services first, and then we'll jump into the connectivity services. Connectivity options. If you have any questions, like I mentioned, kindly, please drop them in the chat so that I would, try as much as possible to answer them for you. So Azure IoT basically allows you to connect, monitor, and control your devices, right? And asset, with high secure cloud to edge solutions. Now, cloud to edge solutions, in the sense that they allow you to not just connect, but also monitor and control your devices, right? Now, most cases, you're building IoT connected devices that need some kind of control or, some kind of monitoring. Your choice is Azure IoT. You can use that. The other cloud services, but here we're talking about Azure IoT, which is something that I use on the regular. Our project, which is the Crafted Climate, which is low-cost air quality sensors that we built, behind the scenes are leveraging Azure IoT and other Azure services to run. So we collect the data from our sensors. It's sent, to the cloud, leveraging our how do you call it, our Azure IoT infrastructure, and also leveraging the Blues Note Hub, which is how we get the data from our sensors to the cloud. The cool thing that Azure IoT provides you is what we call the reference architecture. So what does the reference architecture do? So the reference architecture primarily gives you a list of kind of like, let's say, best practices on how to architect or design your IoT infrastructure, right? If you decide to move it into it. Really clean. With IoT, I always hear them talking about security, but really, what harm would it be if someone gets my room temperature data? This is this is an interesting question that I believe. So Eliclim is asking, with IoT, I always hear them talk about security, but really, what harm would it be if someone gets my room temperature data? Well, it's not just your room temperature data that you should be worried about. Now, it becomes a bit worrisome, right? If you have other devices aside just the a temperature sensor. Let me give it this way. If you have, let's say, a smart air conditioning, right, and you probably have it connected to that temperature sensor, which in turn you're saying that, hey, anytime the temperature goes high above a certain threshold, right, adjust it so that it becomes comfortable. Yeah, for the ordinary home, you might not see what's the value, if you get the data, yes, what it is. If you get, you can turn it on and off, stuff like that. Aside breaching your network, where you could have other things on it, that's one. That's what you should be considering. The second part is you might not see it as a big deal, but we can look at it from let's say electricity consumption, right? What if someone gains access to your IoT network, is able to control your smart things like your television, your air conditioning and stuff like that? So that means that the person could be blasting your air conditioning throughout when it has to go off, and that's you're consuming a lot of electricity. Now, in a small scale, that's not a big deal, but think about a huge building, a smart building where the heating and the cooling and all that is controlled, right? That's where the problem comes. It's a bigger, or the impact is felt a lot bigger in there, because at that moment when someone gets a hold of it, they can either make the room too hot. People who have other conditions that do not need to be in setting temperatures could have effect. Imagine if there are smart locks, the elevator system is all controlled, then that's chaos, right? So then that's chaos. So then you are looking at those compounding factors, as well. But if it's, just data, no. And that's why security has been one of the biggest reasons why IoT adoption, has been running quite low. But I can guarantee that now that is becoming part of the design process, where even now almost there have been some ESP32s that consider having security, chips that handle security and stuff on it. So security should be paramount, whether you're just doing for home automation or whatever that is. Security should be paramount to what you're doing. So I hope that answers your question, Ellie. So back to this side. So we're talking about the reference architecture. So like I was mentioning, reference architecture is primarily giving you some best practices on how to architect your IoT solution. So if you look at some of the reference architecture, so these are documentations for it. I'll come to IoT operations, Azure IoT operations. I'll talk about that in a bit. Welcome, Ellie Klim. So it has a IoT reference architecture that you can use, and then create operational and data experiences. All right. Once you have your devices connected to the cloud, you can move to the concept of what we call digital twins, right? So for digital twins, you're having a digital representation of your device in the cloud that provides you near real time. It depends on how you design it. Real time information about your physical device that's somewhere. I'll give you an example. So you have, let's say, an airplane engine, which is on a plane and the flight is ongoing. With digital twins and connectivity and the cloud connectivity, you can actually see real time what's happening to the devices, how they're performing, the temperature data, all the sensors moving the data. Now, guys, this doesn't mean that every connected IoT project has to be in the cloud. There are what we call the edge devices as well, where you can have your IoT devices communicate with an edge device which is local and still be able to do all these things you're talking about. Um, we're just talking about cloud today to let us understand that there are ways to connect and your devices and get some benefit from it. So Azure IoT, what are some of the features? Is built to scalable, you can build scalable IoT solutions from the ecosystem is huge, right? Like I mentioned, you enjoy all like Azure IoT Defender, Defender for IoT. You enjoy all that AI built in. You enjoy the connectivity to other services, which is right built into it. So you have access to all that. Now, these are some of the core or the basic or the main services when it comes to Azure IoT services in Azure. Right. The first of them is Azure IoT Operations. Right now, Azure IoT Operations. Look at Azure IoT Operations like you have today, like you have DevOps, or DevSecOps or FinOps. Look at it from that perspective. Azure IoT Operations is a way to help integrate your IoT into, let's say, your IT infrastructure and be able to manage and kind of like have your own DevOps environment around. I'm using DevOps loosely just to as a synonymous reference to what it is. So allows you to capture asset data, process it at the edge, and also send to the cloud as and when needed. And it is Azure Arc enabled, right? I can talk about Azure Arc enabled, another time, but yeah. So primarily, it a unifying space that allows you to manage, process, capture, your IoT like deployment and architecture. You can run it at the edge, and then you can also connect it to the cloud for further processing or further usage. Because we know that day in day out, there's been a lot of concern when it comes to privacy, security, data sovereignty, and all that. So Azure IoT Operations provide you the option to, if you want to do it on the edge locally, that's fine. You can deal with that, deploy it and run it locally. And then when you're ready, you have to, connect them to the cloud. You can do that as well. I'll be doing a whole series on Azure IoT Operations in some subsequent episodes, so stay with that. Then we have IoT Hub. IoT Hub, I believe we have used IoT Hub like if you are someone who has been with this show, you would know that IoT Hub is kind of like your gateway into the cloud. So you want to connect your IoT devices to the cloud. In Azure, IoT Hub is like your gateway, your connection to the cloud. So allows you to connect, manage, and scale billions, right, of IoT devices from the edge also to the cloud. I talked about digital twins briefly, which allows you to create, IoT spatial intelligence solutions by pretty much having a virtual or digital version of your physical asset connected and monitored as well. Then we can talk about, IoT Edge, which allows you to extend all the cloud capabilities from the edge, from the cloud to the edge, right? So you can pretty much move all your cloud logic and processing you're doing to the edge close to your devices and, and have that process. And when you're ready to connect to the cloud, it allows you to do that. Azure Sphere was one of the secured connected spheres. I think I have done a lot of series and sessions on that on the Azure IoT Sphere. I still have some lying around there, but it's just like your microcontroller unit, secured unit for creating or designing connectivity applications or Azure applications that are secured from root or from ground. It has inbuilt chips and separated chips that handle security natively on the MCU. And then we can talk about Windows for IoT. Just an OS is a long-term way of support for it for IoT stuff on the Microsoft or Windows ecosystem. So these are the top tier services that allow you to connect and leverage IoT services in Azure. And yeah, trusted by companies like Watts, there's SGS, there's Mars. There are a lot of companies using it, like that are leveraging Azure IoT services. Partners are growing, ecosystem are growing. Now, one thing is that if you are a startup, okay, and you have some kind of like IoT project or have something in mind that you want to do, I would encourage you to look into the Microsoft startup, startup for Microsoft Startup Hub for founders, right? So if you are a startup, you're trying to get into some solution or business, and you just don't want to worry about the cloud infrastructure, whether it's especially in IoT on AI, you can apply or look into Azure for startup, Microsoft startups for startups. You get free credit that allow you to deploy it. For instance, the Crafted Climate project went through the Microsoft startup project, and today we're at level 4. We are getting cloud spend that is allowing us to use all these Azure services for free to scale up the project. So that's something that you should take a look at if you're interested in getting into it. So yeah, that's these are some of the core services. Let's see if we can get into our portal to do some 1-2-1-2 here before we jump into talking about connectivity, and then I'll share. So primarily all these services are accessible just like you would. So let me use this. I have a few. Let's do this. There we go. So yeah, I'm going to try to connect to my, just to share with you some of the how to activate some of the services. This is really quick. So let's do this. There we go. Awesome. And so just like any other Azure service, it's let's see. So I actually went to portal.azure.com. That is what I wanted, and I'm going to select something else. So there we go. Let's do this again. There we go. I need to do another round. Well, it's already connected, so it should take me right into it. So just like any other, Azure services, you can connect with it. You can create instances of it and connect with it. We have a few things connected to that, but I believe, so here you can see where is IoT Tuesday. This is IoT Tuesday resource group. Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing. Forgive me. So there we go. So IoT Tuesday resource group. Let's do the type here. So it will be the same thing as you're creating any Azure resource. You come into your resource, you click on create. So here, and then you can walk through. So click on create. You walk through the steps to select the service that you want to. So let's go here, and then I'll say IoT Hub. I'll do that, and then as you can see, there's IoT Hub. There's a device provisioning service that allows you to provision devices, hands off. There is a device update for IoT Hub. So IoT Hub allows you to also do stuff like over-the-air updates to manage your devices. So you select IoT Hub, and then you go through the process of giving it a name, providing some, selecting the region where it should be defined and all that. And then you would have it. But I already have one. So here we have the IoT Tuesday IoT Hub, which is here. So the overview, we've not connected. Let's see. So here we've not used any daily messages yet because we've disabled that. But ideally, I would go to my device management. I'll go to devices, and then here I would provision my devices. So from a Raspberry Pi to an ESP32, and all that, I'll provision that. And then once I provision it, we have our MX chip, which interestingly over the weekend, we were in the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, the engineering department, to do an MX chip workshop, an introduction to IoT for the students. Quite interesting. And then we use the MX chip. So here you will create your device, provide that information, how you want to secure it, whether I want to use symmetric keys, self-signed certificate, whether I want to connect this device to IoT Hub immediately or just provisioning the device. you can go through that process to do that. So you realize that there is security, baked in right from from the start. And then security settings, hub settings, you can set all this route. You can decide to say when the data comes into the hub, route it based on the message. And like I said, this is just an overview. I've done details of this on my channel. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you should see some of the some of the things that I have done specifically with IoT Hub. Now that begs the question, okay, so how then do I connect my devices to the Azure IoT Hub or IoT services? And that's what we talk about connectivity, right? Now, when you're building IoT solutions, I mean, after you've moved from the prototypes and the Blinky examples and Arduinos and the local ones, you will need to have a way to connect to these services to the cloud. And that's where we talk about connectivity. There are a lot of common and popular connectivity options to use. We can talk about Bluetooth, we can talk about Wi-Fi. There are different connectivity protocols. It depends on what you want to achieve, right? If you want your device to send data to the cloud, then definitely you need to have a way to connect to the internet, right? If you need your devices just to communicate amongst themselves and control and send data across, you don't necessarily need a connectivity that connects to the cloud or the internet. It could be just within a mesh or a local one, and you can use that. Options we know for connecting devices to the cloud include Wi-Fi, cellular, right? These are the two straightforward connectivity options that connect directly to the cloud. So let me take you to the bench and show something before we do this. So in the past, right, if you wanted to add connectivity to your IoT project, right, the very common one is this one that you see here, which is the SIM 800, right? So you turn the SIM card, goes here, and then you connect it. You can connect external antennas and stuff to it. But if you've been doing IoT for a very long time, you would know that these things draw a hell of power, right? They are power hungry. They draw a lot of current, and if you are trying to build, let's say, IoT solutions that live in the field and that need to send data over certain periods, you need to rethink this and get a very good power management, because this, when it wakes up to send data, draws a lot of current. And we've been using it in our R&D to build our crafted climate sensors or our CrowdSense sensors, so we know what we're talking about. You could also go ahead to use this one, which is the same 7600G, which is supposedly, this can do LTE and the modern cellular stuff, right? This could do that. Now, yes, there are new modules that are coming based on GSM SIM cards and stuff like that. However, like I mentioned, it depends on the use case. If you are going to do something that is going to have constant power, right? If you're going to use something that is going to use constant power, that's fine. Then you can use any of this and not have any problem. But if you're going to put it in a field or somewhere with power restrictions and all that, then it's not an efficient solution to look at. Some people or some institutions, some companies have managed to build this in a way that allows you to technically make it efficient. But if you're going to get continuous power to it, fair enough. But in a more restrictive environment, these are not good options to go for, right? If you've been there, you would understand what that means. And then that brings us back to what the other options are. Well, Wi-Fi, right? So you could have ESP32 boards, right? You could have ESP32 boards that have Wi-Fi Bluetooth on board. Now, someone will say Bluetooth. How can Bluetooth take me to the internet? Well, there are different ways if you want to. Like I mentioned, it depends on the type of solution you're building, right? If you're building a solution that, let's say a wearable, and you have space constraints, right? And you're having, let's say, resource constraints. The easiest to say, I have that wearable, speak Bluetooth connected to an app and a companion app on my phone, which will send the data to the app on my phone, and the app on your phone will leverage your phone's cellular connectivity to send the data to the cloud, right? So that's one indirectly way to, to do that. But else, the other thing is you can get an ESP32 or something that has Wi-Fi directly, and then you can program it to use Wi-Fi to send it. However, another thing you also need to know is that the Wi-Fi consumes quite, some amount of power when it's being used. Again, you need to rethink the solution and the deployment you're doing to make sure that you are not using a power hungry or a high demand application, right? What you're seeing here is the Blues note card. Shout out to Blues. That's what we use in our solution. So Blues has managed to give us a very simplistic, very power efficient. They figured it out. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. So Blues provides us, what you're seeing here is the cellular note card, right? So Blues has the concept of a note carrier. This is just a dev kit, right? This is the Blues. This is just a dev kit, but there's a carrier that allows us to connect the note card, which is the main communication module, to our IoT project. They have the concept of what they call the note hub. So this is cellular. So once you connect this to it, there's no SIM card required. They figured out the power efficiency. It can triangulate from cellular towers. Now they have, this here is the LTE or cellular version. They have the LoRa, the Wi-Fi, and then they have a combination of LTE and Wi-Fi. And they even have one that has satellite as a fallback. So if you're developing field sensing devices, this will be one option to go for. So you set this up, they come pre-filled with some amount of data. You can always top up. They have a note hub where the data goes there, and you can configure some routing or moving it into your environment. So what we have done is we're leveraging the note card, connecting it to the note hub, and then doing routing from there to our Azure infrastructure where the data is sent for our pipeline to use. So they have a few of it, and like I mentioned, what you're seeing right now is a dev kit. Now they've built it in such a way that it is quite simple to attach to your solution. So here, this here is a note carrier, right? This is the note carrier XM, right? So here, this is a note carrier. So if I'm doing an IoT solution that I need to do connectivity, I can put this as part of, just add this to my design, and then I believe this is, so this one is so we have a Wi-Fi note card here. Just give me a sec. So then I now pick this Wi-Fi note card and then connect it to it this way. So now my project is Wi-Fi ready. If I wanted to use a cellular, I can move this and put it here. My project is cellular ready. If I want to use the LoRa, they have another model here, which is the LoRa. I can use that. But this is how I would directly, go to, to the cloud, right? Or to the cloud directly with this. Now, the other way, right, which you could go to the cloud indirectly is to leverage what we call either the LoRa connectivity. Okay, so let's bring this here. So you've seen me do a lot of stuff on LoRa. Here I have the Seed Studio, the LoRa dev kit using the E5 modules. Now, LoRa long range allows you to develop IoT solutions that are in, let's say, the field that do not necessarily need to directly transmit, but then they can create a mesh network where the data will be bounced back on the mesh network, and then you use what we call a gateway. So it is the gateway that you can either connect to either a wireless connection, wired connection, or cellular, right? So that becomes the point with which your data goes to the cloud. So in that case, what's going to happen is that all the devices speaking LoRa, will send the data to the gateway, and then the gateway will be the one to send it to the cloud. Or the gateway could just have an edge, you could run one of those edge OSs or edge solutions on it, and then the data will be, will be will be sent to the edge, and any processing or any insights that will be happening would happen on the edge, right? So these are, the conventional ways you would want to connect to it. Now, there are other low powered ways of other also connecting it, which has been there for a very long time, and some of it are, I don't, you might have heard about it before, but then this is XB or Zigbee, right? You either find XB or Zigbee, and these are Zigbee, right? These are like also mesh connectivities. I know some of the old ECG meters, some of the smart ECG meters are running on either Zigbee, and some of your, or Z-Wave. Some of your smart home solutions are also running between Zigbee and Z-Wave, right? So these are all connectivity options that that you can leverage. And yeah, if you want to do a lot of LoRa stuff, there are a lot of dev kits from C Studio has a Rio, LoRa modules. They have the Rio development kit for LoRa as well. So you can actually review some of those and then use. So those are the various connectivity options that you'd have. So those are the options. If you want to connect to the cloud, in our case, connect to the Azure cloud. If you want to connect to Google, any other cloud services, you need to have one of these communication modules. So, and be guided. So depending on your deployment or the architecture you're using, make sure you're choosing the right connectivity and the right modules to allow you to be able to connect to the cloud. So with that said, we've taken a look at the Azure services. We've taken a look at the connectivity stuff. We're going to jump into unboxing this baby right here, right? The NRF 7000 or 7002 dev kit with Wi-Fi 6 compatibility. Before we do that, I am told that a lot of you watch the show and yet have not subscribed. What do you gain? It costs nothing. So please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and share the email. Share this content so that we'll be able to create more content for you, and when we go live, you would get it. It encourages us to keep posting and creating more content for you, right? And also feel free to connect to me on any of my social handles, as you can see on the screen right now. I'll respond to you and stuff like that. Before we get into it, I also want to share that if you're using the MX chip, our MX chip has gone, we've added addition to MQTT. So now you can use our MX chip tool extension, our toolbox in Visual Studio to do it. Yeah. Hey, Gabriel. Nice. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining. If you have any questions about IoT, please, let's have the conversation. Smart cities, smart homes, smart infrastructure, smart bins, let's talk about it. So let me quickly share with you the updates we've done to our MX chip toolbox, which is our own extension that allows you to use the MX chip really easily. If you haven't done it, go to your Visual Studio, go to the extension, and just type MX chip. And then, just make sure, just look for it just from us, Archaeology Solutions, install it, and you can put on an auto update so that anytime we make updates, you get it automatically. I know it's the only toolbox on the extensions marketplace that allows you to easily leverage and use the MX chip. So it's as easy as using Ctrl+Shift+P. If you're doing it, look for MX chip, and then you can go ahead and you can actually go and take a look at our MQTT example here. So once you click on that, it's going to provision all you need, spin up everything you need, put it together, and create a solution that is MQTT ready. You just need to update your MQTT parameters, your service, your Wi-Fi connections, and then that's it. It will connect to the cloud. And if you want to use a local MQTT broker as well, you can use that. I know, right? I know, yeah. So, yep. So, our extension, kindly go download it. Please, please, please download it, rate it, give us your feedback, tell us what you. That's the only way we can make it better for you to use. So, we have that in there. I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave the Visual Studio open because I know we're going to do something with the MX chip. So, sorry, with the NRF. So, let's go to the bench and talk about this beautiful baby. So, I didn't even notice I had had this for a very long time. I've had it for a while now, and I decided to, you know what, let's do the, let's do the unboxing of it. So this is from NORDIC Semiconductors. It's quite interesting, and this is the package. We're going to unbox it. It supports Wi-Fi 6. There's a lot of things to it. Reviewing the specs documentation, right? Just on the chip itself, it says low powered, advanced security, seamless coexistence. So it has both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz dual band. It's low powered, secured Wi-Fi for IoT. Bluetooth is there. It supports the NRF Connect SDK that we're going to use. SPI has Wi-Fi 6 as a base station, Wi-Fi direct. So it can exist in different Wi-Fi modes, and it's running 20 megahertz channel bandwidth. I know the base is running an ARM Cortex. I don't know if it's M, but it has. So we can look at the technical documentation. So let's look at this. So this is the technical documentation for what we're about to. An ultra low power dual band wireless companion IC that adds low power Wi-Fi 6 capability to this, Okay, so, okay, that's fine. Leverages the NRF Connect SDK, and we can develop with the nRF70 series, also Wi-Fi. So, so let's take a look at it. Let's get into it and see what we need to do. So, back to the bench. So here, I'm going to open it. Give me a sec. Why is this thing so hard to open? Anyway, so this side is open. Okay, so there is something for us to do. Get started. Let me do this. NORDIC. Hey guys, and that's the thing I like about my show, is that we do it as is. There are no cutting corners. There's no editing magic. If I fail, we all see that we fail. We learn from it. NorDicSemi.com, and then you can do start 7002 DK. So just going to that. Okay. Let's see what we have in there. Off we go. So we have. So there is a. I believe, is it a manual? Well, there is kind of like a spec sheet. And there is the dev kit itself. It didn't come with any USB cable. I don't see any USB cable in this. Okay. Let me see. Oh, it comes with I think an RFID module. So there's an RFID module with it. Interesting. I'm gonna have some fun. So primarily, this is what's in there. I thought it was going to have, but there's no USB cable. I'm sure we can find somewhere here. So that's it. That's on anti-static, but that's all in it. Let's see what's here. So this is just telling us, okay, so the manual or the document that comes with it is saying, visit the NORDIC SEM website, which we have opened. We'll go to it right in a few. Let me put this here. And then it has Bluetooth low energy 2.5, Wi-Fi 6. Yeah, primarily nothing crazy. All the rest is going to happen here. So let me see if I can bring this closer. So I see 1, 2, 3. The SIMs are here. The modules here, the USB here. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can connect it to it. There is a demo here. If we go to the site, this is what we are asked to do. Installation. Okay, so you know what, I'm going to, let's close all this. We don't need a reference layout for the documentations. We reviewed it. So I'm sure one of the questions people would ask would be, why do I need a Wi-Fi enabled board? Like I mentioned, well, it depends on the project you're building, right? If you're building connected projects that require connectivity, then obviously, I know Eliklum gets excited when he sees hardware. I know, right? You know, it depends on the use case, right? Why would you develop a solution? Why would you use Wi-Fi? Again, I mentioned it depends on your use case of what you're building. If I'm building a connected application that requires to, either communicate to the cloud, like a smart metering or stuff like that, yes, you need to have Bluetooth on it. And the type of Bluetooth or the board you choose is very important. And here you realize that emphasis always on low power. Emphasis on low power, right? Just make sure that, because look, if you're going to deploy these sensors in the field, the most important thing is to ensure that the sensors you're deploying are not consuming, because in the field, you don't have direct access to power. You're dealing with probably solar panels, right? And how much power are you storing, for that period? And, what is the draw of that, your entire IoT device, right? So it's very important that you use almost always low powered devices, low powered, MCUs or low powered, chips, so that you can actually run your devices in the field or wherever you're deploying them for a long time and not having to be worried about power consumption, right? So that's one of the key things. So let's see. We're supposed to unbox it. I need to find one of those cables. I know I have them seated somewhere. I just need to pull them. Funny enough, I always have USB-C, and I've been trying to do away with all the unnecessary. Oh man, okay, so it looks like I have to find. Okay, there we are. We have one right here that we can use. Okay, so let's see what it's saying. So let's look at the installation and then the configuration. Okay, so there is the get starting section, and then also there are the SDKs and Wi-Fi samples that we do. I'm looking at my time. Oh wow, time really. Oh, we have 9 minutes. Interesting. Let's take a look at the hardware. Since if we box it, I'll probably have to come back. We'll have to come back to this next week. So, quick fact here. So it has a dual band. We've seen this. Compatible Wi-Fi 6, 20 megahertz wide channel, open source Wi-Fi driver. Thank you. That's good. Yeah, it has Bluetooth, low energy. It has wow. So wow. Okay. So with support from, so this is what I want to see. Look at this. This is the interesting part. So Bluetooth, low energy, NFC. So I believe that is why they added So this is the NFC thing they added, the extra one they added for us to connect to it. That's there. It supports, the Wi-Fi spectrum. Thread, Yoops, Thread matter, cool. Evolution of connectivity, right? Making sure that all your devices speaking different protocols can communicate. Talk of that, I think I have. Yep, take a look at that. I have a Matter hub, right here, which I'll be trying to set up for my home automation projects to make sure that all my Wi-Fi, Z-Wave, Zigbee, and all that, all the stuff can communicate with each other. So that's interesting to know that this chip does that. And the importance of having dev kits like this is that it allows you to test them out to know the capability, so that when you're building your own hardware or devices, what you do is that you can incorporate some of these things. So there's a secured SOC with secure 64 word one-time programmable memory. Okay, that's cool. Cool. And then it has two onboard antennas for 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz. The NFC antenna is there, and there's an optional what? Okay, it has two, so 1.8 and 3.6 power supply. Interesting. This should be fun. This should be fun. Exciting. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and connect. Where is that, man? I think I have misplaced that USB, because it is actually micro USB. It's not USB type C, so I need to find. I don't know where I put that, but I know I have some somewhere. Let's see. Nope, not this one. Anyway, I'm going to find that in there. Well, looks like we're coming to time. 6 minutes. I'm not sure we'll be able to do this in 6 minutes. We would have to do a part 2 of this unboxing and usage, but we'll be starting a whole new series on the Azure IoT operations. And if this is something that you like to do with me every Tuesday when it comes to IoT, embedded systems and all that, do make sure to kindly subscribe to the channel so that when I go live you can join me. Thank you for making time with me today. Anytime you have questions, please feel free to reach me on any of my social handles, or drop a line, drop the question. There's a question here. Let's see what Eliclim is saying before. We have about 5 more minutes. We can take some questions. Do you think the IoT world should adopt a common connectivity medium so that new smart devices can build around this? Well, that is a very interesting question. One thing we need to understand is that we're also dealing with technologies or protocols that are matured, right? That have been tried, tested, that have been there for God knows how long, right? However, it is important that, like you're saying, it is important that as the technology evolves and new things or new protocols and new communication protocols are discovered or innovated or built, right? Or even the old ones made better, we need to find a way to make sure that they are unified. That is why things like Matter and Thread are trying to do, creating an alliance where it doesn't matter whether it is Bluetooth, it's Zigbee, it's Z-Wave, it's Amazon Sidewalk. It should coexist. Interesting. Before the stream today, I was going through LinkedIn, and I saw a repost from Olivier, someone I follow very closely in the IoT space, and he posted something from a company. I didn't know about them, but I've reached out to the CTO to find out more about it. I think it's Oxit or something, and they are also trying to create multi communication a module, right? Just like Blues that I showed. So I think it is LoRa, Bluetooth, and something else. So if you put that module in your IoT applications, you have Bluetooth, you have LoRaWAN all in there. So you can choose to use whatever protocol. But again, back to the question. It all depends on the type of solution we are building, right? Let's not forget that there are legacy devices that speak a different language, right? You can't just throw them out of the system because they are being used in factories, industries, and stuff like that. And then you would also have, the new hardwares coming in that are probably in Wi-Fi or in just in let's say LoRa or something else because of the way they're deployed. Again, you can't, for instance, go and deploy Wi-Fi for field devices for IoT. That's expensive. Imagine the number of repeaters and access points you need to deploy versus LoRa or Sigfox or something else, right? Which can be deployed in large radiuses, LoRa up to even 10, 11 kilometers, depending on your gateway and antennas. So that makes it difficult to say, hey, everybody should accept one module. However, I know like Mata and Thread are trying to unify it so that irrespective of the kind of communication protocol you're using, we can at least unify them. We can be able to, coordinate and speak among themselves. But I don't think that it will come down to just using one protocol, considering that there are legacy systems, there are, some of the technologies are matured and will remain like that until, maybe the hardwares they're running fade out. So that would be my honest opinion on that. Yeah, and this brings us to time. Like I mentioned, if this was interesting to you, kindly hit the like, share, subscribe button so that anytime we go live, you can actually join us. This has been yours truly, Samuel Adjoining, doing this with you. Like I always say, let's make the world a better place through technology or through whatever you use yours for. I try to make mine through technology. Until I come your way again next week, Tuesday, you can chase me on Friday for Demystify Tech. We're talking about AI co-pilots, building them, learning how to build custom co-pilots, leveraging it, deploying AI stuff. That's what I'm doing on a Friday show. So if you want to do some AI stuff, catch me on Friday. With that said, let's make the world a better place. I'm out. Catch you on the flip side.